the little play?
Yep.
Okay.
So now you're all set.
Now it's recording.
Yep. So I can go back to it and do whatever needs to be done. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Patty.
You're
Appreciate your help.
welcome. No problem. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
You too.
Hey, everyone.
Hello. How are you?
Hi.
All right.
I think we're waiting for maybe 3 more people, so I'll give everybody a couple more minutes.
Beth, I don't know if you have the agenda handy, if you want to throw it up there.
Yeah, so I actually I did a little bit of a PowerPoint, but I thought before I put that up on the screen, while we have everybody's faces large, we could just do introductions since
Perfect.
I'm new, and I think there's one other person who's new since you guys last met. Hello.
Hi.
Marty.
Hello.
You already.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
We've got one more person, I think, and then we can get started. Let's give them another minute.
We got everybody. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think Michael Queenan was the only.
Yeah, I talked to Mike. He said he was coming.
Okay,
So I don't know.
let's give him a minute.
Yeah. So Beth, are you on a regular schedule when you're in town hall, or what are you guys doing these days? When you're there, when you're not there?
Yeah, town hall is fully open to the public, so.
So everybody's there, you know, basically.
Everybody's there full time. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back to
is
regular hours.
Unusual for most workplaces these days, even state government. So
That's true. Yeah, no, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Just gonna get off for a second and close my blind here because it's being weird shadow. Hold on. Okay, so I want to try to keep this till 6 because I know everybody's busy. So why don't we just go ahead and get started? I thought, so I'm new to this role. Obviously, I'm the acting town manager as of October 2nd. And I believe this group of folks hasn't met since last December. I think there might be one new person. So I thought maybe we could just take a minute and go around and do quick introductions. And then we can get into the agenda. So again, I'm Beth Rudolph. I'm the acting town manager. I'm also the town engineer, and I've worked for the town of Winchester for the past 17 years. So I've been here for a while. And pass it over to Mike.
Thanks, Beth. Mike Betancourt on the select board and the housing partnership board, and glad to see everybody here. As Beth said, we'll try to keep things moving, and I'll go over to Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy Irizarry. I've been in town 12 years and I live over on Lockland Road, close to the farm. Carrie Sue.
Mhm.
I'm Carrie Sue Barney. I've been in town 12 years as well. I live on Lawson Road.
I'll go next. I'm Marty Jones. I've been in town a long time. I've been in town since 1987. So long town resident, but not really involved in much in town until I joined the Housing Partnership Board. Gosh, it's probably maybe been 8 years or so that I've done that. So I'm on the Housing Partnership Board, and my career has been in affordable housing development as well as mixed income development and economic development. Robin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Robin Swan. I've been here, I think, almost 7 years, and I'm the wildly decorated house on Cambridge Street.
Hey,
Hey, I'm Chris Galetta. I think I'm the new voice on the board. So very excited to be a part here and help out. I've been in town for about 8 years and have a background in real estate investment. Apologies for the technical difficulties that have got my face off the screen, but glad to be here.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So I'm just going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint that I prepared that I thought would be easier to kind of guide us through the discussion. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So agenda, first up was introductions, which we already done. Just a little bit of background on the Affordable Housing Trust role and general affordable housing background in Winchester. Next is election of chair and vice chair. And I think that was maybe discussed at your meeting on the 20th, but according to the meeting minutes we have, there was no official vote taken. So that should happen this evening. And then an update on the Washington Swan Street parcel, the Waterfield lot, and then scheduled for future meetings. So just get right into it. So this is obviously a list of trustees that we just went through. Michael Queenan is the one who I don't think has joined us yet. Just a little bit of background here.
I think Mike, sorry, Beth, I think Mike is there as
Oh, is he? Okay.
he, bumped up to panelist.
Oh, okay, I'm just going to stop the share for a second. Mike, have you, apologize, this is my first time hosting. I don't see him on my,
Maybe you can also authorize me and I can let him in. He's
Sure.
when
all right. Mike, do you know how for me to make you a co-host? I don't see that on my,
don't know.
if he uses the link that Patty sent out, he should come directly in as a panelist. So I don't know if you are,
Yeah, the link that I used didn't do it. That didn't work that way. So I don't know.
Oh, really?
if
Okay.
it's, let me just send that one over to him and we'll
yeah,
see.
let's see if I can copy paste it to him. Oh, there's no chat.
yeah, because
Yeah,
this is a
I just texted him.
webinar.
Webinar,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
See if that works.
Sorry, I apologize. I'm not usually the host on these meetings, so I didn't get a crash course before this evening.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Send it
Keep
to
working
him,
on it.
Mike. Did you send it to him?
I did. Yep.
Oh, okay, great, because I can do it too, but if you did it, I don't need to.
my guess is because I'm logged in, I came through as myself as a panelist and I'm not logged in as the town manager's account,
Oh.
that I don't have the same
Oh,
privileges
okay.
that
Oh,
Patty has when she manages it. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, now he's got two different ones. Oh, wait.
I can't actually see him anywhere, so.
Yeah, so if you click on participants at the bottom, the window will pop up and you'll see him there.
In the attendees tab, you have to go over to that tab.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you have a right click on.
Promote to panelists. Let's see if that worked.
There he is.
Happening.
Yay.
All right.
Apologize for that technical difficulty there. Okay, great.
Hey,
Thanks,
hey, Mike,
everybody.
we just did introductions a little bit. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself. We're just kind of jumping into a PowerPoint that Beth put together. Or not, we'll keep it moving.
Great. All right. So just a little bit of background, I thought, on affordable housing in Winchester. So Winchester has historically had a very low affordable housing percentage. And as a result, the select board adopted a housing production plan back in 2018. We are currently at, which this is an all-time high, I would say, an affordable percentage of 4.8 units. That includes 416 Cambridge Street, which is a 40B development that is just about to break ground. My understanding from the town planner is that that technically isn't included in our percentage yet, but there's just pending some paperwork. So I think that's an accurate kind of number to say that once the paperwork is done, we'll be at that percent. We are also currently what's called safe harbor until March of 2022, which kind of protects us from any 40B projects until we get through that safe harbor period. The Affordable Housing Trust was created at the spring 2019 town meeting. We are all now a part of, and the Declaration of Trust was signed in October 2019, and that document is on record at the registry. The purpose of the trust, as stated in the declaration, is to provide for the preservation and creation of affordable housing in the town of Winchester for the benefit of low and moderate income households. As I mentioned, there are currently two 40B housing projects under construction in Winchester. So 416 Cambridge Street was approved back in 2016. That project was delayed substantially due to some appeals of the ZBA decision. But that has been since resolved, and they actually received their building permit within the past month. So there's about 95 units that will be created there. Total units, not all affordable, but 95 total units. And then also on River Street, there was a 40B approved by the ZBA in March of 2020. That project was not appealed. So they have received their demo permit and are underway with that work. And I expect they'll get their regular building permit in the next several weeks. The photo kind of rendering on the right is a rendering of that proposed finished project on River Street. That project will create 147 units total, not just affordable units. So the next step, unless anybody has any questions kind of on those background slides, I think is to elect the chair and vice chair.
Could I just, this is great, Beth, as an overview. At some point, I'm not sure we have time to do it today, but at some point, I think it would be great for this group to sort of talk about what we want to do as a trust, because the purposes in the trust document that you shared are very broad. And I think for us to have a conversation about what we might want to try to do, and also how our work complements and doesn't overlap with the housing partnership, because I think it's people I've talked to around town are kind of confused about, like, what does the housing partnership do and what does the housing trust do? So I think it would be worth it for us to figure out, in our next meeting when we have time to start digging into how we, what we think about what we're going to do, since we haven't really gotten going yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that makes sense. Anything else folks want to add at this point? Okay.
Just quickly, out of curiosity, you said the 4.8% included 416, but not the River Street project.
I believe it includes River Street as well.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Just out of curiosity, how many units, roughly speaking, do we need to get up to the 10% order of magnitude?
Mike, I don't know if you know that number off the top of your head.
700 and something, because we have something like 7,900 housing units. I haven't heard whether the new census number's out, but it's something in that range, I think.
Okay.
So 10% would be something in that range.
Thank you.
And the kind of confusing thing under 40B is that even though only a part of the units created under 40B are officially affordable units, all of the units, even the market rate units, get counted towards your overall percentage of affordable housing.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point, Beth, just because when you look at 147 units, that seems really impactful, but it's really only 25% of that 147. And
Right.
they're 80%, generally 80% of area median income. So it's workforce housing, a family of 4 making in the $100,000 a year territory. So that's something for us to discuss too, if we want to advocate for projects at lower income levels and things like that. So.
So I thought we could move forward to the election of chair and vice chair. So this is just reading text from the declaration. So the trustees shall annually elect one trustee who shall not be a member of the select board to serve as chairperson. The chairperson may establish subcommittees to carry out the purposes of the trust. Chairpersons of the subcommittees may be selected by members of the subcommittees. Subcommittees may have members who are not trustees and who serve in a non-advisory capacity. So I think tonight, the first step is just electing, I would say, a chair and a vice chair so that there's 2 folks, and then she can chain of command in case the chair is unable to serve for whatever reason. Although I am technically a voting member of the trust, I'm going to abstain so that I can administer the election. And I have my guidance document here from our town clerk to make sure that we're doing everything by the book. So I am now going to open the floor for nominations for the position of chair of the Affordable Housing Trust.
So
And if you could state your name and the person that you are nominating, please.
Okay, Mike Betancourt, and I nominate Marty, and I haven't talked to Marty in a little while about this, but so I hope it doesn't come as a surprise, Marty, but I know that it was kind of what we discussed before. So anyway, I want to nominate Marty for chair.
I second.
Nominate Marty, do you consent to the nomination?
So let me just say, I would consent and I'd be honored to be the first chair of this trust for Winchester. I really believe that if we're going to do our job, I need everybody's help. And that I really hope that we can find a way for everybody to have a meaningful role in this and help, the leadership of this to make things happen. Because I think it's really, if we're going to be effective, we've got to all kind of be in it together. So that would be my ask.
I am, as my role as acting town manager, I am fully on board with that. I'm already happy to provide any assistance I can.
I would second that nomination if that's something that we need as part of the
Yes.
process.
Yep. So who was that?
Sorry, Chris Galetta.
Okay. Okay. And I will take a roll call vote. So Mike Betancourt,
Yes.
Carrie Sue,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Marty.
I guess I have to vote for myself. I haven't done that for a long time.
Michael Queenan,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Robin.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Marty, do you want to take over or do you want me to do the vote for the vice chair?
Why don't you keep going? Because since you have the cheat sheet from the town clerk and you can keep us all in order,
Sure.
that would be great, Beth, if you would do that.
Okay, great. So I will open the floor to take nominations for the position of vice chair for the Affordable Housing Trust. And if you could state your name as the person nominating it and then the person you are nominating.
So Mike Betancourt, I'll nominate Carrie Sue Barney for the vice chair position.
Carrie Sue, are you, do you consent to the nomination?
I
Don't give her
do. I
that
will,
choice, Beth. You don't have to give her the choice. But she's been nominated. That's it.
I will be a benevolent vice chair.
And do I have a second?
I'd like to second.
Stacy, is that
Yep, that's me. Yep, Stacy.
great? Great. Okay, and I will do a roll call vote. So Mike Betancourt,
Yes.
Carrie Sue,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Michael, Queenan?
Yes.
Chris
Yes.
and Robin?
Yes.
And I, Beth Rudolph, abstain. All right, so we have done one very important piece of business tonight, which is to elect our chair and vice chair. So appreciate everybody for their willingness to serve in those roles. Thank you very much. Marty, do you want me to keep going through the PowerPoint slides I had put together, or do you want to
Sure.
take over
Yeah,
from here?
yeah, no, absolutely. Go ahead, Beth. I think that's
Okay.
fine. I think you're getting us through this agenda quite well. So let's keep going.
Okay, so moving on from the election of chair and vice chair. So I wanted to, and I'll really turn this over to Mike, but just an update on the Washington and Swan Street parcel. So a little bit of background. In fall 2020, town meeting authorized acquisition of the property located at the corner of Washington and Swan Street for affordable housing purposes in the amount not to exceed $3,150,000. Since that time, the select board has hired special legal counsel and has had what I think we would all call unsuccessful negotiations with the current property owner. As part of the process, the select board obtained an additional appraisal this past July and found the property to be valued at approximately $5.3 million. And the select board just voted at their meeting on Monday night to place an article on the fall 2021 town meeting warrant to increase the authorized acquisition amount in line with that appraisal, which is up to $5.3 million. So Mike, I don't know if you want to take over from here.
Sure. I think everyone's probably a little bit familiar with the subject parcel at the corner of Washington and Swan Street that went through many years of litigation when CVS was looking to locate a store there. It's kind of gone through several years of kind of conflict between family members there, and it was recently then transitioned over to a private owner. There's a lot of kind of internal dealings between the owners, the prior owners, and as you can see, nothing happens there. So we, because of our housing production plan and real need for affordable housing, the select board asked town meeting for authority to take the property by eminent domain in about a year ago. And so town meeting also kind of asked us to negotiate a little bit with the current owners before we did a taking. So we've spent a year doing that. As Beth said, we hired counsel. The kind of protracted negotiations went nowhere. So we're back with an increased purchase authority for town meeting because we've kind of really dug in a little bit more to the details on the value of the property. So we learned that it was a little bit more than we thought initially, but also a lot less value than the current owners were trying to sell it to us at. So we've kind of hit somewhere between this, $4 and $5.5 million range. And so what's important about that is when we use our eminent domain authority, we can take the property and we take it clear title. So none of the whatever's gone in the past will affect us. It's as if, we're getting the property for the first time. So that's helpful because it really reduces the litigation exposure for us. The other parties can litigate their own issues, but we're kind of out of it for that point. So that's great. And then our goal is to immediately issue a request for proposals to see if developers want to come in and turn it into affordable housing. So our ask to town meeting is to purchase the property through a taking, but also it's going to have a restriction on it that it can only be used for affordable housing. So we can't use it for something other than that. The main purpose of it has to be affordable housing. So I know, people have their own ideas of what's to be located there, but if the town is going to be involved, it's going to turn into really a mixed use, we hope, affordable housing project. We've already developed the RFP with a group of neighbors, planning board members, select board members. So that's, we just have to hit send on that once we get authority to do it. So the purpose and the involvement of the Housing Trust is really significant. It's one of the reasons that we created the trust, is because we see these opportunities in town for affordable housing, but everything moves so fast that we can't wait to go to town meeting to do these things, right? So the trust is a way for us to purchase property, sell property. We have about $1 million, Beth, I think, in the Affordable Housing Trust at this point. So we can put that money to good use. Now, as we know, $1 million isn't going to get you too much in Winchester. So the value here is we can issue debt on it. So if it's a $5.3 million property, we can have a short-term debt service on that for about $100,000. And so while the RFP is going through its process, we can use our housing funds and really leverage it to turn it into a 50-unit mixed-use affordable housing project. So and then that money should, in theory, come back to us when we're done. Also, through the American Rescue Plan, we've received money from the federal government, and I think we've got like 6.8 million that's there. So there's a potential for us to apply some of the difference here between what we initially thought, or even the whole thing, we could use to kind of reduce that number. And then again, when the sale goes through, that money comes back towards the affordable housing objective of the town. So I know I've been working on this for like 2 years, so it all makes sense in my head. But let me know if you have questions. I know the bonding piece is a little bit tricky and confusing, and also the RFP process. So ask away.
Question? Mike, thanks for the update. I just wanted to note that I'm really glad that it sounds like you've got neighbor buy-in on that. You said the group that was putting together the RFP included neighbors and planning board members. So I think that's really fantastic. I was going to ask about that, so I'm glad you led with that. With respect to the proportion of affordable housing units, is it going to be 100%, or is it a smaller percentage that you were putting or considering to put into the RFP?
It won't. I mean, obviously, when we have an RFP, we identify affordable housing as the primary objective, just like we did on the Waterfield lot. But it is very unlikely that it'll be 100% affordable. The economics of that are really difficult especially for construction right now. So so we want to maximize, obviously, the affordable housing there, but and get more than we normally would with 25%. So the other tricky part about this, I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but that lot is zoned commercially. So that's one of the issues that the current owners have, is that they can't build housing there or do too much outside of it being commercial without our involvement. So we can do what's called a friendly 40B, and we can work with a developer to relax the zoning requirements and kind of build something a little bit bigger and a little bit taller and faster. So so that allows us to go straight to the zoning board and kind of circumvent our normal process. One of the reasons that 40B was created back in the late 60s, I think it was because local zoning was used to keep affordable housing out of communities. So it's actually called the Anti-Snob Zoning Law for that reason. So that's the objective of it. And so it really endeavored to incentivize developers to build affordable housing by allowing them to completely circumvent the town. I mean, I know we've had developers come in on projects, and they've come before the select board and they've said to us, like, hey, we don't really have to meet with you. We can go completely around you. We're just trying to be nice. So that's the benefit to them. And but the economics of these projects are very lean. So we hope to get more than 25%, but you know, it's we'll see what comes back. There, the neighborhood did see a project there from Brian Melanson that they had initially really supported and approved, and so it gave us kind of a lens when we were developing the RFP to kind of create something around what the neighborhood liked. So they didn't like the giant commercial CVS project, but they did like some mixed use, maybe ground level retail with housing above it. So that's our target.
Sounds great.
So Michael, I don't know the rules around eminent domain, and I know the town can only take properties by eminent domain if it's a public purpose, and affordable housing is one of those purposes. So if the town takes it, it can't be 100% market housing, as I understand it. Is that right? Or are there some standards around how much affordable it has to be in order to be eminent domain, or can the town just take it and if it ends up being something else, it can,
Well, so we'll have the authority that we request from town meeting restricts it to affordable housing anyway. So we wouldn't be, even if we like, one of the current owners had offered to us that they wanted to put a Cane's Donuts there, right? I mean, we're not going to, although that would be nice, that's not really one of the policy objectives of the town at this point. So we wouldn't really work with them on that, but it does have to be predominantly an affordable housing project, even for us to get bonding authorization. That's something that if we did kind of a bait and switch, we would get in trouble with the Treasury a little bit. So
I'm more thinking about the economics of it with the land price going up so high. If a developer is if the town is hoping to be repaid its full $5.3 million, it's going to be virtually impossible for that to be rental, but maybe the American Rescue Plans can help, write down some of that. But I guess I was trying to get my head around if somebody was responding to the RFP and wanting to do ownership because they thought they could pay the highest land price and they thought that's what the town wanted, how much affordable housing would have to be in it to stay consistent with the eminent domain rules and the bond rules? Because I don't know those, mechanics and percentages, and I'm just trying to get my head around the economics with this big land price.
Yeah, we just met with our eminent domain counsel and Jay Gonzalez, who's our bond counsel, this morning on this, and they were saying that it has to be, serve the affordable housing purpose in some way. So it doesn't necessarily have to meet a really high standard, but even if we were to create just a small portion of units, even 10, that would satisfy it. So even if the project was, geared towards something else. So I think you're right, Marty, that the economics of these deals now are, really, really difficult. And so the market rate units are really subsidizing the affordable units. And so there's only so many you can have. So one of the developers who met with us, they actually wanted to commit to a certain number of affordable units and then have some other units be market rate, not deed restricted and for sale. So they would sell maybe 10 units in the building at market rate. And that's how they would kind of get their land acquisition money, and cover that. And then they would deed restrict certain units. So that's a little bit different than how we normally do it, because we wouldn't get credit for the non-rental units. So and we would, as you know, so and we wouldn't get credit for anything that wasn't deed restricted. So if you say 50 units and 10 of them are going to be market rate, not deed restricted, normally we would get credit for 50 towards our subsidized housing inventory, but in this case we would only get credit for the ones that were rental and deed restricted.
I just wanted to mention, this is the article, the motion that will go in the, sent out in the motion books that go to town meeting members. Just got finalized today. So it specifically mentions, select board is hereby authorized to acquire for the purposes of affordable housing. That's specifically called out in the motion.
May I ask another quick question on this one? Mike, did I hear you saying that the thought is that the housing trust would be responsible for carrying the debt service?
That's right.
And so I think,
I mean, that's a
Is there-
decision of the trust. I mean, that's our, one of our strategies,
Yeah.
you know.
and would that be first dollars repaid? Because I think to Marty's point,
Yes.
there's a very good chance that the land value is worth substantially less than $5.3 million to affordable housing developers. So obviously, we would have to be wary about exactly how much of the $1 million in the trust account the trust could really afford to invest in a project like this, right?
Yeah, I think that's why we spent so much time on an in-depth appraisal, and we have seen offers in this range. It doesn't mean that we will pay 5.3 million for it. I mean, we still haven't done environmental studies on it or anything like that. So once we get a hold of it, then we'll be better able to determine the value. So when you take something by eminent domain, you have to pay fair market value.
Mhm.
And if we said, oh, we think fair market value is $1 million, and then we write a check for $1 million to the current owner, they could sue us for whatever the difference is between what a court would determine was the real fair market value based on appraisals and market conditions and things like that. So that's
Fair market value based on highest and best use.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So right, you can't just say we're gonna we want to do a just have it be a park and throw grass on it, and it's really only worth $500,000 or something. It's going to be what really could be there if it was kind of maximized, and as you say, highest and best use.
So from a timing perspective, when would the Affordable Housing Trust be asked or need to take an official position on what it wants to do in terms of paying the debt service on bonds or being part of the transaction?
So I think that we can do a couple things. We can vote to support the article if we want to going into town meeting. That's something we can share with town meeting. I don't think that we necessarily, and Beth, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or Mark, that may be something that we choose to do at a later date, because potentially we could use ARPA funds. That money kind of fell out of the sky a little bit for us. So it's that might be the best avenue for us, but this was the kind of thing that we created the trust for. Really, we knew that we couldn't fund projects on our own and develop our own projects, so we really need to leverage the limited amount of funds that we have, and they come from different sources. We've negotiated some other housing projects to contribute money towards the trust, and that's but it's never really enough. So that's the goal. But I think that we can wait. We can maybe wait on deciding the how the trust would be involved.
Yeah, and I think there's the board, assuming this article passes at town meeting, the board has some discussion to have about timing of this eminent domain taking, whether they want to do it immediately or like Mike said, maybe there's some due diligence work that you want to do before you move ahead with the taking. So I do think, like, just looking at this in kind of a stepwise fashion, potentially voting on supporter of this motion for town meeting, and then there could come back to the trust for further discussion about the financing piece.
Yeah, I could just imagine a town meeting member asking, so how are you going to pay the debt service on the bonds? And so I think the answer, it sounds like, Michael, the answer to that is there are a couple of options that the town has. One would be to ask the Affordable Housing Trust whether, they would vote to use some of their funds. One would be to use ARPA money, whatever. So you're trying to kind of keep some options open until you get past town meeting, it sounds like.
Yeah, and it may be that, and we've got to come up with that money to purchase at fair market value within 60 days of the taking. So basically, the function of the taking process is that we walk into court and we say, here's our or the registry, we say, this is ours. It's very quick. The town takes ownership of it with clear title. You've got 60 days. The clock is running to transfer the fair market value funds over to the property owners. They can litigate and say, we believe the fair market value is not 5 million, it's 8 million. And so we need $3 million. That doesn't change the ownership. That only changes potential liability for the town that's there. But we are very confident in the number in this range that we're at. So
I mean, in my limited experience, I mean, I've unfortunately been involved in a couple of eminent domain things. They usually sue. They're usually trying to, at least.
I think they have 3 years from the date of the taking to.
Yeah.
So.
But
So
it
I just
doesn't,
want to
the good thing
mention-
is it doesn't hold up the development. So,
Right.
that can still go, and it's just happens
Right.
sort of off to the side. Yeah.
Right. I just wanted to mention, this is the this is the motion that's being printed. It's very wordy, but it does offer a couple different options for the financing piece in terms of Affordable Housing Trust, ARPA funds. I don't think you can use ARPA funds for payment of debt service, but there is also a little bit of money available in the Select Board Housing Fund. So there's a couple different options on the table for discussion.
And
Yeah,
the ARPA
and-
funds are not restricted? Sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the ARPA funds at all are restricted, or can we clearly, just be able to use it for this purpose?
So I think it can be used to offset the purchase price. I don't believe it can be used for debt service. And I think there's a little bit of discussion about if that when that money comes back to the town through a purchase price, how it would be reallocated under the rules of the ARPA funds. But it could definitely be used kind of as to offset the purchase price.
Without having to go to town meeting again?
The select board have control
Okay.
of the ARPA funds. Yep.
Thank you.
Perhaps for a later time, but is there a broader discussion to have about other avenues to money through the ARPA funds that are an important tool for us to use, or is this sort of a one-shot opportunity from that source?
There's a broad range of uses that so certainly with other projects we can use ARPA funds. The only restriction with the ARPA funds, I think they have to be committed and applied by 2024. I don't know, Beth, you can correct me on that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I believe it's 2024.
Yeah. So
There's also some state ARPA funding available, which we've advocated to get for ourselves. That I don't know what the process will be for that, but that's also something that might come towards it to us in the long run.
And so what's the process for the town deciding on the ARPA funds? Is the select board going to kind of do it all at once, or kind of wait and see what good proposals come forward and
Yeah, so
consider those, or?
the former town manager Lisa Wong solicited proposals from a variety of folks and got proposals of over $12 million. So obviously, more good ideas than we have money to fund. I think the board will take up that discussion, Marty, after town meeting, probably in early December, to talk about how what the next steps are that they want to do to prioritize that. If there's additional folks they want to get input from and potentially proposals from, if they want to, allocate all that money up front to projects or spread it out over, as Mike said, we don't have to, we don't have to obligate all of that money until 2024. So if we want to kind of do it piecemeal, and how there's a variety of things under the ARPA funding. So it's not just affordable housing, it's obviously like COVID related expenses. There's a huge category, infrastructure investments. So just how we as a town want to allocate that money between the, possible things that are eligible under ARPA. So I think there's some work for the board to do to make some decisions there.
And it may be that when we're looking at some of these funds for any of the affordable housing projects in town, whether they be small or large, that we say, okay, we're going to contribute X amount of dollars to create more affordable units than would normally be part of it. So kind of, buying out some of the market rate units that are there if the developer is looking for cash versus revenue. But who knows?
There are also a couple, so the town is in the process of, we've acquired a property, some very small property on Glenwood Avenue that could be used potentially for affordable housing. The town also acquired, as part of a land swap, a lot off of North Border Road as part of the Abbey Road subdivision. So there's a couple of different places where there could very small new construction affordable units could be built. We're talking in the order of a couple of units, but that's something that's a possible option as well.
And just to, give everyone a little bit of context on the project. Right now, the benefit to the town of this property from a tax perspective, certainly there's no use that benefits the town there, but we only get about $40,000 a year in tax revenue from that unimproved property. So this would substantially create increased revenue to the town, which is important. And the other thing that happens with these projects, like River Street, for example, they wrote us a check for their building permit fees, which are a percentage of the project cost, and that check came in at $700,000. I mean, that's a lot of money for Winchester that we otherwise didn't anticipate receiving. Certainly, you're bringing school-age children into the schools, and there are costs that are going to the town's going to need to invest in over a period of time, but that is the objective of 40B and the subsidized housing inventory and housing production plan strategy that we've taken is to provide access to a community like Winchester to young families.
So Michael, are you looking for, or would you like a vote of support by this group, this board, trust, whatever we are, I guess we're a trust, for this article for town
Yeah.
meeting?
I think that would be helpful if everybody feels comfortable with it. I mean, I know it's a lot of information all at once, but town meeting's coming soon, and I don't think that we have to commit, as I said before, to the financial piece of it, but we can definitely, I think, support the article. I mean, it seems like it's something that we would.
Certainly aligns with our goals as in the trust documents that you showed, Beth.
All right, so does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to support the town meeting article.
Second.
Sorry, I'm just taking some notes here. Who was the
Sorry.
first?
Chris Galetta.
Okay.
Carrie
And the
Sue.
second?
Carrie
Great, thank you. So support the town meeting article. Actually, I don't think I have an article number.
Article
It's
12.
Article 9. I think it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
wrong.
Article 12 was from
Was the
2020.
last one, I say, yeah.
Yeah.
Carrie Sue,
Support
is that
town
like,
meeting Article 9.
is that a pillow or like a Muppet that you're on? What is that?
It is a skinned Muppet, yes.
It sends a message.
That's right. To all green Muppets.
Yeah.
It's a fur thing. It's like a sheepskin thing.
Gotcha.
Skinned Muppet.
Marty, do you want to call the vote, or you want me to do it?
Oh, sure, I'll call a vote. So
Okay.
I guess we have to do a roll call vote, right? Everything on Zoom has to be
Yes.
a roll call vote. So I guess I will just call Stacy,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Carrie Sue,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Michael Queenan,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And I am technically a voting member as well, so.
Oh,
I vote-
on this
I
one
vote-
you vote. Okay, so.
I vote yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And I think when we were, did we get everybody?
Yes, yep,
I think when we were putting together the trust documents, it was important for us to have the town manager be on the trust as a voting member, because that's the kind of the hub of all of the housing work that we do in town. And it's important, you know, that we have someone that is staff for the town that can keep things moving and add some continuity for the trust as well. So that's why the town manager is a voting member. So it's important to the trust.
great. So I just had another quick slide here. If we're all set with Washington Swann, just to update the group on the Waterfield Task Force. So as you may all know, the town issued an RFP. It was either late 2020, no, actually early 2020, right? Timeline for the redevelopment of the Waterfield lot site, which is right across from the town common. The town selected Civico and it went to springtime meeting. And then there was a referendum after that point. And so the select board decided to move forward with creating what's called the Waterfield Lot Task Force. It was a 5-member task force that was created in July. Their charge was to kind of review the issues that were raised during the referendum process on the Waterfield lot development. The task force met 8 times between August and October, and they solicited written and verbal input from the public. There was also an affordable housing finance consultant, Lynn Sweet, who worked with the group to help answer questions and evaluate Civico's proposal. The task force developed a report and presented that final report with recommendations to the select board on Monday night at the past meeting. And the board will be considering those recommendations at the meeting on October 25th and discussing next steps, one of which could be scheduling of a special town meeting in December or early 2022 for action on that. Mike and Marty are obviously very involved, so if you guys want to add any additional comments there.
I mean, I would just add the one that's most relevant to this group. So I think you all probably know from following this throughout the summer. One of the things that Civico proposed was a loan of $500,000 from the Affordable Housing Trust. I was involved in a number of the task force conversations, and I just continued to remind people that Civico has not formally asked for it. The Housing Trust has not yet voted on it. You know, in order to get competitive scoring on the funding applications, the state does want to see a local commitment, and these kinds of loans are not unusual. But you know, I'm obviously a very big supporter of the development, but they do have to come to us at some point in time, and we'll look at their numbers and we'll sit down and talk to them about what we want to negotiate, you know, for a loan and terms from the trust. So that would be on the horizon, assuming that the select board successfully chooses to negotiate with Civico and they get a deal with Civico. But most of the other development proposals also had some funding request from the Affordable Housing Trust. So that's on the horizon as part of hopefully Waterfield going forward.
Great. Mike, did you want to add anything?
No, just that, you know, the Waterfield project is a really unique one. So I know because we're on a parallel track with Washington Swann that, you know, everybody's kind of has both of those in their head at the same time. But the Waterfield is the real benefit is that it's near transit because it's right on the train station property. And so that's a really big deal. So so the town, there's value to the town in giving away that land, essentially and the value that we're receiving back is in affordable units. So I know Marty's probably sick of looking at all the financing of this project, but it's very lean, it's very tight, and there's not a lot of room when we're maximizing affordable housing to do much else there. So you know, it's turned into a little bit of a political football, you know, I think, with a lot of competing interests, that's what happens when, you know, you're in the center of a town like that. So you've got the Chamber of Commerce looking for parking, you've got neighbors looking for the height to be lower, and, you know, you've got the town looking for housing, and other residents that are looking for revenue from the project. And so we're going to be renegotiating with Civico, I'm sure, and so at that point we'll try to find a balance between those things that's consistent with our main objective there. I won't say our exclusive objective, but certainly the main goal of that project is affordable housing, and will remain affordable housing. So
yeah, I mean, and part of the reality of why the upfront economic return to the town is lean is that the developer is building a garage for 40 public parking spaces. So that's costs a lot of money that's not available. If the developer didn't have to do that, that money could be available for land price or other things. So that's kind of one of the big things that's added to the complexity of the economics.
And construction costs are, you know, really high, exorbitantly so, and have increased in the past, you know, couple of years during COVID. But so that's part of what the developer is really bearing that risk as well. So.
Yeah, and I think one of the most frustrating things about the development business is, you know, assuming Civico does go forward, there's still a long time and a lot of work to do. There's still planning board hearings, and there's still affordable housing trust hearings, and, you know, so it's really just the beginning of the process. So I do hope that, you know, the select board and the developer can get there, and that we can actually start the real work of looking at designs and figuring out the details, and figuring out how it's going to work with the MBTA and all that stuff. That still has to happen.
Yeah, and just to give a little more background, the town came up with a housing production plan, which commits us to really building 40 units a year. And then if we do that and those are permitted, then we move into safe harbor where hostile 40Bs can't come in. And so because, as Marty was saying, the timing of these projects is really hard to pin down. We've got to really be moving multiple projects at once to hope that they hit at some point. So we only get credit towards our subsidized housing inventory and safe harbor when the project is permitted. So even if we strike a deal and everybody signs in the line and all the votes are there and there's no referendums, there's still a long runway before we can actually take those on, you know, at percentage wise towards the inventory, if that makes sense. And correct me if that's wrong, Marty, or Beth. I'm not.
No, I think that's true. Like we said, with the 416 Cambridge Street, it's not technically counted yet, right? It will be. There's some final paperwork to be submitted, but that project was approved in 2016, so it does take a while. That was obviously litigation in the middle, but yeah.
Right. It went on and then it went off because the litigation held it up. So, yeah.
Right. But that's not uncommon when it comes to these kind of large development projects. Okay. So anything else on this one?
Yeah, just a quick question, just generally, is it only new units that count? Or, I mean, I thought I saw like in our trust documents, it was something about maintaining or preserving. If we preserved units somehow using our resources, does that also count, right?
If they were not currently on the subsidized housing inventory.
Yeah.
So if there was what some people like to call naturally occurring affordable housing, right? That then becomes deed restricted and is preserved permanently, then it can go on. Doesn't have to just be new construction.
Great.
Okay, so we're close to 6 here. So I think the last item that I had on the agenda was meeting schedule. So according to the trust document, the trustee shall be meeting at least quarterly. I think probably, I know the last meeting was in 2020. So I think looking ahead, and Marty, I'll leave this up to you as chair, but I do think we should lay out a schedule, over maybe even another meeting before the end of the year. And then as we look into the first couple quarters of 2022, so that the trust is meeting its obligation in terms of a meeting schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be great to have another meeting, sometime before the end of the year and, be able to, as not necessarily have something other than kind of a brainstorming and a getting together and talking about what we think some things the trust might do and having kind of a general conversation about that. So I would love to do that if others on the trust have the time to put in to have another meeting like this sometime before the end of the year. I don't know, town meeting's coming up. I don't know if people are town meeting members and have schedules for that. So I'm not sure the best way to put something on the calendar, or if people have other thoughts about when they'd like to meet.
I would say November's tough just with town meeting. I know the board has a lot of meetings and the holidays. And it'd probably be better to meet until after we get some direction about Article 9 from town meeting. So maybe we could target like early December.
Sounds good.
Makes sense.
And also, if there's other agenda items that people want to, put on, also let Marty or Carrie Sue know, or Beth, and we can do that. One of the things that we had talked about since our last meeting was having, kind of a primer on all of the stuff and have resources available to the trust members, because it's very complicated. Things change very rapidly, especially at the state level. And so maybe we can bring someone in to kind of just do a quick kind of overview for us from Mass Housing or DHCD or something.
Or another thing I was thinking of is maybe sending out a little survey to all of you to say, like, here's a list of things that we could do. Which ones of these do you feel like you need to know more about? And that would help structure a presentation and get a sense of what pieces of the affordable housing landscape people would like to know more about. So maybe we can do a little bit of a survey before the next meeting.
Do we want to put a date on the calendar for the next meeting, or do you want to circulate some potential dates via email to let people respond to?
If people have calendars and want to do it, I mean, I don't know what's, is this a good time for people? 5 to 6, so we don't get too late.
Sure.
So
I think
December
we
8th.
could look at, I was gonna say December 8th.
Yeah.
Yep.
December 8th.
Good.
Okay, let's do it.
So Wednesday, December 8th, 5 to
Yep.
6 p.m.
Yep.
Perfect.
I know we're all super busy. Do we want to keep meeting Zoom for that meeting, or folks feel like we want to meet in person to have that sort of brainstorming session?
Zoom for now. We can
Okay.
change it if we want to.
Okay.
So we're
Well,
by then.
I will get a Zoom invite and I'll get that date on everybody's. I'll send out a meeting invite just to get that on everybody's calendar. If that's okay, Marty.
That'd be great to get that on our calendars. Thank you, Beth.
Yep. Great. Okay.
Okay, so does anybody have anything else they want to say? We're 3 minutes over time, but anything else to add to the conversation? All right, well, I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a
Second.
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 All right, do we have to roll call that, Beth, or can we just adjourn?
Mike, how do you guys usually do it? From
Everybody
select
does it
board?
differently. I don't think it's technically a big deal. I think we can just, the chair can adjourn the meeting.
Okay, great. I will adjourn the meeting. Great to see you all. I really look forward to working with you and seeing if we can help move the needle a little more on affordable
Yeah.
housing down.
It's definitely an exciting effort here. So I appreciate everybody's work. Thanks.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you all.
Bye.
Thanks,
Good
everybody.
night.
Take care.
Bye.